マンナーナマンナーナマンナーナマンナーナマンナーナマンナーナマンナースナマンダスナマンダスナマンダス。両下出言もろもろの造業雑種自力の心を振り捨てて一心に阿弥陀如来我らが今度の一大事の御所御助け僧らへと頼み申して候。頼む一年の時往生一条御助け事情と存じこの上の称名はご恩報者と存じ喜び申し候。この恩ことあり弔問申し分け候ことご解散承認ご出世のご恩次第僧正の全知識の浅からざるご関係のご恩とありがたく存じ候。この上は定めを課せらるる恩を聞いて一語を限り守り申すべく候。ナマンナーナマンナーナンマンナーナマンナーナンマンナーナマンダスナンマンダスナマンダスナンマンダスナマンダスナマンダス。願 エリ都市最小村志願や国家大仙の感動国書店に東鎮明家ナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブナマンダブ何にしくどく平等正妻のもないしおじょうあんなナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダナマンダスナマンダスナマンダスナマンダナマンダスナマンダナマンダスナマンダスナマンダスPlease join me in Gashol. When we reflect on the establishment of the vow, we find that the Tathagata, without abandoning sentient beings in pain and affliction, has taken the directing of virtue to them as foremost, thus fulfilling the mind of great compassion. 如来の左岸を尋ぬれば、苦悩の右情を捨てずして、エコをしとしたまいて、大悲心をば成就せりと、ナマンダスナマンダスナマンダスナマンダス。Good morning, and I'm very happy to see that the sun is starting to come out in these past few days. We here in the beautiful Tacoma area, and the weather has been really nice and warm. I'm actually sweating right now, but with that, we still spend a lot of time at home because of the situation with the coronavirus. So it's kind of boring staying at home, but essential. So that is kind of the state of the situation as it is right now. The other day I saw on YouTube, now that I have all this time to spend at home, the other day I saw on YouTube a documentary on Queen Elizabeth I, who lived in the 16th century. Now I have no idea what got me to click on this to watch it, but one of the really interesting kind of facts about Queen Elizabeth is that the white makeup that she put on her face contained elements of lead in it, as well as the lipstick that she was putting on contained elements of mercury in it. Of course, they didn't know at that time that these things are detrimental to your health, but she was applying this stuff every day on her face, and over time she would apply more and more of this stuff on her face. So these things, such as lead and mercury, cause such ailments as memory loss, as well as irritability. And I thought, wow, memory loss and irritability. That sounds kind of familiar, memory loss and irritability. It sounds like someone I know. I don't think I really need makeup to exhibit these kind of attributes or behaviors. I do it all the time, and if you don't believe me, again, please refer to my wife, and she will tell you all about this. So what you see in front of the camera is a filtered version of myself, of course. I am presenting to you what I believe is more appropriate and a polished self. This is the best as it gets. Okay, I'm sorry. But it's not my whole self, nevertheless, right? It's not that it's a fake self, but it's just not the whole self. And what you see is what is the presented self. And whenever I talk about this issue about, the not the fake self, but the self that's not the whole self that is presented in front of people, it always reminds me of that character. I believe his name is Holden Caulfield in the Catcher in the Rye, that famous novel. And so in this story, he's the guy that calls everyone a phony, right? And he goes through this whole phase of the whole world is fake, right? And I used to really like this character, and when I was in high school, and I really identified with this person. But let me just say that now that I'm a little bit older, that Holden Caulfield is a child, and he's the biggest phony of them all, right? What he doesn't understand is his own fakeness, and the question I want to ask him actually is, then what is real? Are you real? What constitutes a real person? And this is really interesting because Shinran Shoni has a lot to say about this matter. What I think he would say to Holden is that nothing is real. Everything is fake, indeed. Everything is fake, including him, in that everything is impermanent. Only the Nembutsu alone is true and real. And in Japanese, there's this famous saying, and it goes like this: Soragoto tawagoto makoto aru koto naki ni tada nenbutsu no mizo makoto ni te owashimasu. So soragoto tawagoto makoto aru koto naki ni tada nenbutsu no mizo makoto ni te owashimasu. And this is found in the Tanisho. Everything is fleeting and changing. The only thing that does not change, in other words, the only thing that is constant and does not change is truth itself. Truth itself. And in this case, it is the Nenbutsu teaching. This is what Shinran explains to us. One of my favorite TV shows is the Twilight Zones, the original series. And I love how it plays with human emotions and in such an intricate way. And the narrator speaks in such an eloquent and impactful language that you can't find anymore with all these Hollywood action-packed visuals that you see nowadays. I also liked how back in the 60s, Rod Serling, the creator of this show, was already playing with themes about artificial intelligence and our coming relationship with them. Will we create human relationships with androids, or will our creation be our ultimate undoing as a human race? These questions he was already talking about before anybody else. In fact, everyone else thereafter copied his ideas. And in one story, or one episode, a rich person is trying to figure out what to give, or who to give his wealth to in his family. So the kids and the mother all fight for his wealth. He's a really rich guy, okay, so he's going to leave behind this great inheritance. So right before his death, he asks them to put on this mask and put on those masks and leave them on until midnight strikes. And there are these ugly looking masks of different faces, real grotesque looking, right? And these masks all kind of show each person's characters, right? One person is obsessed with her own image. Another person is obsessed with becoming rich. Another person is obsessed with power. And they put them on initially, and when they go to take them off, their faces become the ugly looking masks they were wearing, right? So
It's this very funny kind of dark humor, sarcastic episode that talks about the ugliness of human nature and what we are capable of becoming. So this story kind of shows the different emotions that well up within us that make up who we are, but we are often inclined to try and hide our true feelings. I like this episode because I feel them all the time, right? I have these emotions within me as well. I have emotions of hatred, of anger, of ignorance, of wrath, apathy, vanity, pride, self-righteousness within myself. These are parts within me that I will steadfastly deny in the presence of others, but I harbor these emotions from time to time within myself. Shinran Shonin was a great person because he was a great human. I say that intentionally, that he was a great human, because many times we in this world do not know how to be human. And what do I mean by this? What is it to be human? Is it to wake up in the morning, eat 3 meals a day, work a 9 to 5, come home to your family, right? Go to sleep and then start the day all over again the next day? Is that what it is to be a human? In one of Shinran Shonin's famous quotes in his composition known as Wasan, in the Hitan Jukkaiki, as it is called, where he reflects on and laments his nature, he writes, quote, "Although I take refuge in the true Pure Land way, it is hard to have a true and sincere mind. This self is false and insincere. I completely lack a pure mind," end quote. And he later writes, quote, "Each of us in outward bearing makes a show of being wise, good, and dedicated. But so great are our greed, anger, perversity, and deceit that we are filled with all forms of malice and cunning," end quote. So Shinran is being brutally honest with himself here, saying that his greed, anger, and ignorance, the 3 poisons of Buddhism, are so strong that nothing that he does is of truth and sincerity. He says that truth does not come from within himself, that truth comes from outside of the self, the Nimbutsu teaching from Amida Buddha. So what he is explaining is that when we come to encounter the Nimbutsu teaching, we are forced to look at our naked selves as we are. We are forced to see the parts of ourselves that we do not want to see. The parts we want to see are easy to see. It's the parts that we don't want to see that are hard to see. In fact, they are impossible to see based on our own ability. We need something from outside of ourselves that shows us our true selves. And this is why we need Amida Buddha's teachings. It is through the strength of Amida Buddha's great compassion that we can have the audacity to look at ourselves as we truly are. And when we do, when we see the parts of our ignorance, our irritability, hatred towards others, greed to bolster the ego's selves, when we see that we do harbor these emotions too within our hearts, that, ironically, enables us to tap into the realm of humanity, of true existence. And why is this the case? Because all sentient beings harbor these same emotions. We are all in this together. And the base common denominator, or what Shinran calls the Bonbu, is the underlying humanity that connects us all together. This humanity is the universal fellowship of all sentient beings. Many people misunderstand Shinran Shonin to be this overly negative and highly self-cynical person. He's not. He is a realist. He is realistic about his feelings. And instead of turning away from those feelings, he hits them head on. And by hitting them head on, he shatters the glass cube of his egocentricity and immerses within the world of universal humanity. And how do I know this? Well, because when Shinran writes, he's talking about me. He's talking to me. This man who lived roughly 700 years ago, who has no idea of what the world today looks like, is able to speak to me directly in his words. How inconceivable that it is that we are connected, and yet here we are connected. It is through our humanity that we are connected. It is through our bombu-ness that we are connected. It is through our ignorance that we are connected. But he was able to grasp hold of me through his words because of Amida Buddha's great compassion. And when I see that Shinran is talking about me, talking to me, I tap into the humanity that he is also within. I will talk a little bit more about this in the podcast as well, but here I wanted to just show you what all the rave is about Shinran Shonin. You know, this was a very deep man, very deep, and through the Nembutsu teaching, he lived his life as truly an authentic individual, and we too can do the same if we open up our hearts, be honest with ourselves, and ride the universal vow of great compassion. Please join me in Gassho. When we reflect on the establishment of the vow, we find that the Tathagata, without abandoning sentient beings in pain and affliction, has taken the directing of virtue to them as foremost, thus fulfilling the mind of great compassion. Namo Amida Butsu. 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 Namo Amida Butsu.
When life is fair and sunlight gilds the day, when fortune smiles and flowers adorn our way, oh, let us pause with grateful hearts to say, Namo Amida Butsu. E'en though our way leads 'neath the darkened sky, and to our loved ones pain and death draw nigh, our tears may flow, yet trustingly we cry, Namo Amida Butsu. When our life leads us to the other shore, and Buddha's light we'll see forevermore. In Nembutsu, our grateful hearts shall soar. Namo Amida Butsu.
Ryogemon 1. We rely upon Tathagata Amitabha with our whole heart for the enlightenment in the life to come, abstaining from all sundry practices and teachings, and giving up the trust in our powerless self. We believe that the assurance of our rebirth comes at the very moment we entrust, and we call the name Namo Amida Butsu in happiness and thankfulness. We also acknowledge gratefully the benevolence of our founder and our succeeding master, who has led us to believe in this profound teaching, and we do now endeavor to follow throughout our lives the way laid down for us.
Thank you very much for tuning into the Sunday service for June the 21st, 2020. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. If you have questions or comments for me or the people here at the Tacoma Buddhist Temple, please leave your questions and comments in the comment box below. And also, of course, your Dana donations are more than welcome, and we will happily receive them, and that you can reach the donation box through the link that will also be listed below. Thank you very much, and have a good day.